Good day. Now we're going to discuss the first topic of customer relation, OA 203, the nature of communication. Communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you're willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. That is by Brian Tracy. You might wonder why we are going to discuss first communication when in fact our topic is, or the course is about customer relation. Of course, you will never have a good relationship with your customers, internal or external customers, unless you know how to communicate. Communication is a social process in which two or more parties exchange information and share meaning. And then the purpose of communication in the organization is achieve coordinated action. Why is this? The goals of the organization will never be achieved, or everybody cannot do their respective responsibilities if it is not communicated to them. If the information is not shared, that is the second purpose of the of communication. If the information is not being shared, then one way or the other, the goals of the organization will never be achieved. In relation to your customer will never understand what you are trying to sell, maybe, or what you are trying to inform them, maybe, if you do not share them the information. And of course, when you communicate, you express feelings and emotions. Emotions of being ecstatic, excited, or sad, probably. Communication is an element of interpersonal relationship that obviously is affected by the international environment. These are now some of the barriers of communication. The major barrier of communication is language. Different, different, and difference in language are compounded by the fact that the same word can mean different things in different culture. Sometimes nonverbal communication varies across culture and discipline as well. In the Philippines, we are divided by multiple islands at the same time with less than 100 of dialects across country. There are some Bisaya dialect that are funny to hear when it is converted to another dialect. Like bulbul. Bulbul in Ilonggo means the fur of the animals, right? You know, fur. F-U-R. Balhibo in our dialect. However, if you're talking about bulbul in the Bisaya dialect, then I believe you might laugh what it means, right? So technically, that's how language or sometimes dialect can affect communication. And of course, coordination. International communication uses issues in terms of time because it's like if you have loved ones from abroad and then you want to communicate with them but you have different time, then one way or another it makes a barrier in communication. And then there are methods of communication. There are three methods of communication: oral, verbal, and nonverbal communication. I believe everybody is familiar with this because every day we are using either of the three, all of the three, or one or two of the three. The three methods of communication in organization are related to each other. Each one supplements the other, although each can also stand alone. So we discuss first written communication.
So written in the form of, from the word written, so it is being written, right? Letter, email, memo, manuals, um, forms, and what is being put on sites. And because of technology, we have now DM, PM, email, chats, among others, or posts on social media. Those are written. And of course, the most common one, oral communication. Most prevalent type of communication takes place everywhere. Communication skill is the number one criterion for hiring new employees. I have we had an interview way back 2018, no, not 2017. This is the comment of one of the BPO company in the city. They said that our school produces good graduate, if not better. However, during the interview, they fail not because they do not know or they have little knowledge, but because of oral communication skills. They lack the capacity to express how they feel. And communication is a skill. That's why you have to practice it. Communication, oral communication is also powerful because they include not only the speaker's word, but also their changes in tone, pitch, speed, and volume. Have you tried arguing with someone? Sometimes you get angry or you will have an argument with someone not because you are really angry with them, but because when they change their tone and the pitch of their voice makes you agitated and triggers you to be angry at them. If you have listened to an argument, you will never hear someone arguing like this. Sumbagon tikaw ron. Patyo na tikaw. You will always hear people arguing in loud, with lots of emotions on the languages, and sometimes they even fill in foul languages in how they communicate, right? I believe you have encountered arguing with your classmates, probably with your friends or family members. Then third type of communication is nonverbal communication. This includes all the elements associated with human communication that are not expressed orally or in writing, like facial expression, body language, and environment. When you think of the buildings in Singapore, does it give you an idea what it means? The buildings, if it is highly modified, highly structured, high technology, it is actually communicating to the people. This is environment, the example of nonverbal communication. This is actually communicating to those who are seeing and observing it that we are developed. We have the technology. We can provide you with better environment. So the facial expression, if you really know someone, based on their facial expression, you will know that they are sad or they are happy. And of course, body language. If this were in the new old normal rather, when you listen to your instructor in the class, especially in a room in the third floor, which is very, very hot sometimes, in terms of body language, sometimes when you sit down, you don't sit down erect. Why? Because probably the teacher is boring. Second, you're not interested with the lesson. And third, it's because the environment is not conducive for learning. So those are example of body language that sends signal to the receiver or the one observing you that you are communicating. And of course, the communication process. There are seven. processes in communication. As it goes, a good relationship starts with good communication. Do you believe in that? I hope you do. So, the first process is the sender. As you can see, the sender. The sender or the people who is going to give the message. The sender or the source is responsible for preparing the message and encoding it. Encoding does not mean typing it in, but it is one of it. Next is encoding. Encoding, the process by which the message is translated from an idea or thought into symbols. So, what is this? Process by which the message is translated from an idea or thought into symbols. So, how does the sender encode it? It's either spoken or written. So, if the sender is thinking of making a joke, he or she will encode it through spoken or written in a way that the receiver will understand. And of course, transmission. The channel or path the sender will use in order to communicate the message. So what are these transmission? It can be through talking, touching, mass media, advertisement probably, social networking sites, chatting, texting. Those are the transmission or the channel or the path used or will be used by the sender in delivering the message. Next is decoding. So decoding is interpretation of the message. If you do not understand what the sender is trying to tell you, one way or another, you will have a hard time decoding or interpreting the message. So for instance, the language. If you do not understand the language, you can only hear the person mumbling something, but you can never decode it because you do not understand it. So that's the interpretation of the message. And of course, the receiver. The receiver is responsible in decoding and decides to respond to the message. So when the receiver decodes the message and he or she did not understand fully the message, then he may give feedback. Feedback is the response to the message, whether the receiver understood the message or not. So those are the feedback. So, and of course, you might wonder what noise is. So noise is any disturbances in the communication process that distorts the communication. Static, emotion, signal. This is one of the challenge. Signal, our data signal, our broadband signal, our internet connection. Internet connection actually disturbs the message, right? And then of course, I have to add something. Semantics. Semantics is a study of language form. Semantics occurs when people attribute different meaning to the same word or language form. A very simple example I can give is light. Light is an English word that can be used, depends upon the sentence, like light as in the lamp, or light as in illumination, or light like I feel so light. It means you feel so relaxed, or it's not heavy, or this ball is so light. So it's just light. But if you use it in a sentence and you mean something to it, it's just light, but it's a semantics, attribute different meanings to the same word. So this is